FM ilayska umada.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
I never said I wouldn't cooperate, but what you're asking me to do is a terrible crime.
Oh, I don't know what to do with you anymore, Leonardo.
What's wrong now?
Nothing. At least let me convince you not to take that gun with you.
No.
It's him. That's him. It's him. Stop him.
Hey,
sir.
What are you doing? What is this?
Sorry, sir.
Let me
you
go.
Have to come with us,
sir.
Under
Why? What did I do?
Calm down. She's probably on her way here.
But she's supposed to be here by now. She and Madame Carmen aren't answering her phones.
I need you to forgive me because I won't make it to the wedding.
What?
There's nothing else I can say. I just can't marry you.
Lying heart fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición entre
Tatizo la kupata huduma za afya lilikuwa limewakaba wakazi wa mitaa ya mabanda kwa miaka mingi. Lakini kupitia uongozi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, mitaa hii sasa inajivunia hospitali za kisasa.
Na wewe unaitwaje?
Wiki hii kwenye Project 254,
I decided that it was important that we have the capacity to give healthcare to where people are.
Tumeona maendeleo imeendelea hapa kwetu Ruben. Saa hii dawa tunapata free, atulipishwi dawa, na tena matibabu yetu yote tunapata free.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Indeed, it is the third day of March 2022. Good afternoon and welcome. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Glad you could make the time. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you. Plenty local, international, business and also sports. My name is Njue. Lucy Mora will be our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. And we, of course, welcome your comments, suggestion, or even where you are watching us from. Now, straight to the news. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says that no learner will miss the national examinations for any reason. Magoha says talks are underway between the Teacher Service Commission and the Teachers Union to reach a consensus and avert any strike that may disrupt the national exercise.
speaking while on a tour of Kiambu County to inspect the progress of the construction of the competence-based curriculum classes. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha allayed fears of any learner failing to sit for the national examinations. Magoha said the government is engaging the teachers' unions to reach a consensus on their demands to avoid any strikes.
I already reached out to Kupet to call off that strike, and I can assure you, from what I feel on the ground, the exams shall take place. Nobody has enough power in this country except His Excellency the President, who was elected by everybody, to say the exams should not take place. They shall take place. Our teachers, who are mainly parents anyway, love their children. And I think we have agreed that we are not going to use our children as a pawn in a game of...
The CS noting that the government had put measures in place to ensure the security of learners in insecurity-prone areas to ensure a smooth examination period.
All children will have exams in very secure areas. Where there is need for us to cater for the children in a boarding facility, that will be created for the purposes of those exams. So there should be no child, and this rumor that some children, even where there is no war or insecurity, that children are going to walk for 8 kilometers, that is hogwash. It is not true.
Nasio Kware, Lunchtime News.
In other news, police in Thika are on high alert following reports of a terror threat targeting Thika law courts. Thika West County Commissioner Mbogo Madioya said they launched a heavy security operation after receiving reports of an anonymous note that had been found at the police gate detailing the terror threat. Madioya further affirmed that operations at the courts have resumed even as investigations into the matter continue.
Operations at Thika law courts were disrupted temporarily following reports of a terror attack targeting the courts early Wednesday. According to Thika West Deputy County Commissioner Mbogo Madioya, a heavy contingent of security officers was deployed to man the facility, which also houses the DCC's office, after a suspicious note was found dropped at the gate detailing the terror threats.
Kwanza koti haijafungwa. Inaendelea kama kawaida, lakini asubuhi tulikuwa tumepata habari kwamba kuna watu wanasema kuna watu waweza ingia huko na washambulie. Si wameshambulia, waingie huko na washambulie. So wakati kupata hiyo ripoti kama chairman wa usalama, tulichukua ile hatua inafaa.
Madioya has affirmed that they will conduct further investigations on the matter, calling on members of the public and civil servants not to panic.
Kutoka pale tulipata hiyo ripoti, uchunguzi kwanza unaendelea, tuweze kujua hasa nani aliandika hiyo notification ama alert. Na kutoka hapo kanajua hiyo tumeenda kumpaka community, tumeongea na management ya koti, tumeongea na wananchi wale ambao walikuwa wamekuja pale, walikuwa na pia wako na hofu, tumwambia nyinyi mtaendelea kuhudumiwa kama kawaida, na ndio naona sasa mambo inaendelea kama ilivyo.
Thika Chief Magistrate Stella Atambo said operations at the court have resumed after security assurance from security agencies.
We had to make sure that everybody is safe, and that is why the wananchi were at the gate, so that the security officers would ensure that all was well before we started serving our clients. And we started court sessions at about 10:15. We have served some of them virtually. We have served those who are here physically and to satisfaction, and they've gone home.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Safin Achieng Oma.
Let's now shift focus to matters politics, and Amani National Congress now claims it was kept in the dark regarding the secret pact between ODM leader Raila Odinga and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka under the defunct NASA. The party Secretary General Simon Gekuru says it is such levels of mistrust that led to the exit of ANC from NASA. Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has called for respect for small parties as a key tenet of multi-party democracy. Muturi took his presidential campaigns to Kajiado County.
Smarting from a revelation that there existed a secret pact between ODM leader Raila Odinga and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, The ANC party, through its Secretary General Simon Gikuru, which was part of a moribund NASA, now claims it was kept in the dark and was unaware of the existence of a deal. The party claims it had quit NASA and linked itself from the pair because of such dishonesty.
It was their private agreement. Let them deal with it privately. I don't know why they even, disturbing all of us in the Republic with whatever they had agreed privately. Let them go back to the boardroom where they were and sort their issues.
At the same time, the party has revealed that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance will not do zoning in its quest for political victory in the coming elections, with each constituent party expected to compete with its peers in the alliance.
We want competitiveness so that it's only the very best that will emerge.
Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has urged for respect for small parties in the country as they were champions of multi-party democracy. Muturi, who took his presidential campaigns to Kajiado County, condemned leaders who have been agitating for dissolution of small parties as enemies of multipartyism.
Hakuna makosa yoyote chama kuwa na ngome yake kona yoyote ya Kenya, kwa sababu kuna kitu kinaanza na watu wawili watatu, alafu kinakuwa.
In Nakuru, Jubilee leaders have called on area Governor Njue to fold up his Ubuntu People's Forum party and rejoin Jubilee. The leaders, who acknowledged the probability of Njue coming back as governor for a second term, said by folding up UPF, Njue will be showing commitment to President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Azimio coalition.
Kwa vile kama sisi ndio MCAs ambao tuko sitting na yeye bado ni the sitting governor na anaelekea mwelekeo mwingine, tunaona yenyewe hapo haikuendi vizuri.
And politicians propagating hate during their campaigns have been warned of stern action by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. NCIC Commissioner Philip Okundi says ahead of the elections in August, the Commission had mapped out violence hotspot regions and will soon narrow down on masterminds.
NCIC has earmarked 23 counties in this country, which are hotspot areas, where violence can be ignited by very little things.
John Jacob Curia, Lunchtime News.
Now, one person has died and 2 motor vehicles torched in a land row in Miwani, Kisumu County. Angry residents clashed with a group of people allegedly hired by an auctioneer to evict the Miwani Sugar Company workers and settlers.
The goons, who claim to have orders from Crossley Holding Limited, stormed the vast estate, ordering everyone to vacate the premises in adherence to a court order. Workers complained of harassment and destruction of property in the ambush.
There's an auctioneer was there. There was also the court as well as there's the court agent, maybe something like court agent, that is come to execute an order. Of course, security. The copy of the order they had, but nobody took that copy. They were showing the copy, but nobody took that copy. But we vacated immediately.
Miwani Sugar Company receiver manager Francis Ooko joined the locals in condemning the raid and said the factory premises has never been contested in any court.
Let's now drop down to the coast, where Rabai residents in Kilifi County have a reason to smile after receiving at least 2,100 title deeds. More than 6,000 title deeds, however, await issuance to the remaining 4 schemes under the country's Rural Security of Land Kenya program.
For the last 60 years, Kilifi residents have lived in lands without formal ownership that has made them live only as squatters.
Pwani amesema kwamba tumechoka kuwa masquatter. Miaka 60 ya uhuru. Mpwani leo hii hatumalizi wiki. Familia karibu 20-50 zitavunjiwa kati ya pwani hii.
Speaking at Ruruma in Rabai constituency during a county government project inspection, Kilifi County Governor Amason Kingi committed to prioritize allocating lands and also issue title deeds to end squatter scandals in the county.
Shida ya ardhi tunataka izikwe katika kaburi la sahau. Angalau mpwani naye apate afueni.
Earlier, over 40 homes had been demolished at Kiwapa in Kilifi County, leaving families homeless. The victims noted that the county has had land wrangles for a long period of time, with everyday demolitions being witnessed.
Sisi squatter na tuna haki kama mwingine alivyo ana haki. Nashangaa kuona nyumba yangu imevunjwa na za wenzangu pia zimevunjwa, ambapo kwa kweli ni jambo ambalo linatia uchungu.
Nilikuwa nimekuja hapa mwanangu nisaidie, kumba ni hayo ya kuwa mimi unasema mimi nitavunjwa. Basi pesa wanangu sina mimi. Sina shilingi ya kulipa hapa.
They're now calling upon the government to hasten an intervention. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
And still at the coast, a family in Mororo, Tana River County, is in agony after their 11-year-old boy drowned into River Tana while collecting plastic bottles with his peers to play games with. Evans Mutemi is said to have been playing with his mates as usual along the river banks before the tragedy struck. Unfortunately, till now, his body has not yet been retrieved from the deadly Tana River.
According to Martin Mtua, one of the boys aged 12 who witnessed the incident, Mutemi was trying to pick a plastic bottle on the edge of the river when he slipped and drowned.
Abdaz akagonga ile plastiki yake hapo hivyo ikaanga ndani ya maji. Kwanga ndani ya maji akasema aje, mimi siachi plastiki yangu acha niende. Akaienda akatoa viatu na akachukua miti. Akaanza kuivuta inaenda nyuma na inarudi mbele. Ile mali yenye ilikuanga amekanyaga ndo ikanini ikaboromoka hapo akaanguka ndani ya maji.
Mutua, together with the other two friends in panic, rushed to call out for help from the people nearby. But by the time they came back to the site, Mutemi had been swept away.
Na sisi tukasema hatuwezi mwacha ni base state, tukakimbia kuita mamake mdogo. Baadaye tulirudi tu hapa kwa maji, watu wakajazana. Mamake mdogo akafanya nini?
The family sought help from the local divers who said that the river is currently infested with crocodiles and they could not race to venture in it.
Tumejaribu kukimbizana na watu wa Red Cross, maana tuliambiwa ndio wanaweza toa msaada. So tulibidi tuwatafute Mandogo, tuwatafute Garissa, na hata kufika kwao ikawa pia kuna mambo mengi ambayo hayakuwa kama fungua zikupatikana. So hatukuweza kuokoa jana. So ilibidi tena tuamukie leo asubuhi tukaenda kule kwao, ndio tukaweza kupata hiyo motorboat tukakuja nayo hapa, na kuanzia kama saa 3 hivi wameanza kutafuta mtoto.
Teresia Queen, a Garissa Township nominated MCA who joined the search party, said that it has almost become a norm that lives are lost in this crocodile infested river.
Imekuwa changamoto kwa sababu watoto wanaingia ovyo ovyo na maji yanapoteza huyu mtoto anaingia na anapotea kabisa. Jambo lingine tunataka serikali isaidie huyu mto kwa sababu umekuwa ukipoteza watu. Tungeomba pande ile hii ya Mororo iko na watu. Tungeomba kama inaweza kupatikana fence iwekwe. Ni kama 500 meters kutoka mahali tunahitaji hiyo fence iwekewe.
The county government has also been urged to establish a quick response team to deal with such cases and other disasters. Parents have also been called upon to be aware of where their children are at all times, just to make sure they are safe from any harm. Jelis Aladi for Lunchtime News.
In other news, Kitui Ministry of Public Service has donated 102 wheelchairs to persons with disabilities to mark World International Wheelchair Day. The donations came even as the county and national government were urged to construct more special schools for children with disabilities and facilitate their registration into the National Council at the grassroots level.
46-year-old John Kimanzi says as a disabled person it is not easy to get a job due to lack of mobility and stigmatization.
Nikaenda town nikafundishwa kazi ya kushona viatu. Kashona viatu huko. Kashindwa na mambo ya town nikarudi hapa nyumbani. Sasa nashona yanga hapa nyumbani. Sisi wajua watu kama sisi ni watu tunadharauliwa sana. Yaani unaonekana wewe huwezi kazi.
Kitui Woman Representative Irene Kasulu is urging county governments to build special toilets in schools for children with disabilities. She also put emphasis on the provision of free wheelchairs.
Lazima nipeleke motion. But all schools
must have, lazima zikuwe na vyoo za walemavu.
Mary Musyoka is urging all persons with disabilities to embrace their state and that parents with such children should protect them against stigma.
Ndio sababu mnapewa hizo wheelchair, mnakosa kulipa tax, ndio mtu afanye biashara yake. Kwa sababu wakati uko kwa barabara ukipewa shilingi 10 ama 20, huyo mtu kesho atakupatia.
Film producers in Kenya are taking the art to a different level through telling stories that depict local challenges and solutions. Such is the film Mukami, which our reporter Jacqueline Masharia reviews today in our weekly feature Cinemas and Theatre.
Set in Tharaka Nithi County, the film Mukami is based on a young African girl's journey through life as a student in a community that looks down upon girls. At the height of her frustration and conflict, she's about to give up on her dreams when she meets a retired doctor playing chess. He trains her on the game, which builds her mental fortitude to rise up against her social challenges, to attain a quality education and break through the glass ceiling by using chess as a tool of self-actualization. Mukami is played by Yvonne Adego.
Mukami is a girl who is coming from a homestead where her father is enlightened and he's got twins. The boy, both of them are going to school, but the mother is not in favor of the girl going to school because her herself did not go to school. It takes a lot of strength for Mukami to go through that situation until she reaches a breaking point. And at that point of breaking is when she chances upon a certain sport that turns around her life and gives her mental fortitude to overcome and to withstand all the bullying that is going on around her.
The film, produced by Karigo Kirago, seeks to change and impact the lives of the girl child throughout Africa, as education still stands a challenge to many.
We wanted to tell the story in our own way, stories that are emanating from our own cultures, where we have seen, like for example, boys are going to school and girls are staying at home to do the house chores, and so it is in that setup that this film is based on.
The inspirational and empowerment feature film is available in mymovies.africa.
We shot the film in Tharaka language, in Tharaka Nithi, using the cast was Tharaka people. And it's just an indication that every community can play their roles in doing something great. And we all don't have to come to town, but the town can actually go to the mashinani and come up with something good. The film industry, first of all, I would like to commend it so much for coming in to hold our hands and to hold all those other filmmakers out there. And I believe that coming this year, 2022, we're going to see a lot more local films as opposed to last year.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Truly made in Kenya for Kenya. Looks like an interesting movie to have a look at. Very well, we are due for our first break at about 20 minutes past the hour. Allow me to appreciate two 3 viewers who are tuned in. Mukorogo John wa Elementaita, you say you're present. Raston Taiwa watching live from Imara Daima, Nairobi. And also Saimo wa Gatanga watching Nikiwa Gatanga. Let's have a quick break, then we'll be right back with more news.
As an African, that this same sense of mission will reinforce the response to the other great challenges that confront the African people. The international community too must play its legitimate role for support and cooperation to this endeavor. This is the first time that the United Nations will work in integrated manner to promote the development of an entire continent.
Despite its rich array of energy resources, the Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, Indian Ocean region faces serious energy challenges.
One of the main challenges is energy poverty, and also we are dependent on biomass resources.
Another challenge is sometimes when it's raining, like the rain season.
Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
Now, members of Parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice of the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as one opinion say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Welcome back. Thanks for keeping it KBC Lunchtime News. Elsewhere, President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated Kenya's commitment to the realization of Africa Union COVID-19 Green Recovery Action Plan, speaking when he presided over the official opening of events to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Environment Programme UNEP at the UN complex in Gigiri, Nairobi. The president said the plan will tackle the combined challenges of the COVID-19 recovery and climate change by focusing on critical areas of joint priority, including climate finance, renewable energy, resilient agriculture, and biodiversity. The president, at the same time, announced a new award for Peace and Climate Action Champions, with the first winner set to be announced during this year's Madaraka Day. Earlier, the president unveiled the commemorative plaque marking the 50th anniversary of UNEP.
Today marks a proud moment as we celebrate the extraordinary environment journey that we all have walked together as a global community. As part of UNEP's core mission, it has required defining and enforcing rules and procedures for protecting the environment, such as limiting of emissions or stopping endangered species from becoming extinct. Through its scientifically driven agenda, UNEP has established a credible platform for countries to come together and act boldly to advance the global environment agenda. I commend the leadership of the United Nations and the Unep family for successfully steering the environmental ship through troubled waters and remaining steadfast and focused in implementing your core mandate.
The Pamoja African Alliance Party has denied giving conditions for their support of ODM leader Raila Odinga's presidential bid. Elsewhere, 35 members of the Bungoma County Assembly have thrown their weight behind Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka in his quest for the gubernatorial seat. For this and more, he's upside with a politics wrap.
Pamoja African Alliance Party's spokesperson Lucas Baya Maitha said that since they had joined Azimio la Umoja, their support was politically leaning towards Raila Odinga. The party, however, insists that it will field candidates at the grassroots level to compete along those of Odinga's ODM party.
Kulingana na records zangu nilizo nazo kutoka ofisi, tuko na wagombezi kutoka Makueni County wanasimama na paa. Tuko na wagombezi Migori County ambako wengi wanafikiri ni bedrock ya baba, wanagombea na paa.
Meanwhile, the Jubilee Party has expressed confidence in winning majority of the seats in Nairobi during the next general election. Speaking in Kayole during their ongoing relaunch of branches, a section of leaders from the party credited several development projects realized in the area to President Uhuru Kenyatta's government.
President Uhuru Kenyatta alipochaguliwa 2013 mpaka saa hii mnaona ile transformation ameleta Nairobi? Si kweli? Simona tuko na bypass kutoka airport mpaka wapi? Si kweli? Hii barabara ya Outari mpaka airport tunakumbuka. Spine road ya Kayole tunakumbuka. Barabara ya Matopeni tunakumbuka. Hospitali 24 Nairobi tunajua.
In Bungoma, some 35 members of the county assembly affiliated to the Kenya Kwanza have endorsed the Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka for the gubernatorial seat.
Why we need Ken Lusaka ni kwamba watu wa Bungoma aso casuals. Mara nyingi tunaweka pesa ya kulipa casuals. Wafanyakazi wa county. We have been allocating over 63 million every financial year. Lakini hawa wafanyikazi hawapati. Ni watu tunapofanya shughuli hiyo.
In a related development, a war of words has ensued in Kajiado between Governor Joseph Ole Lenku and his predecessor David Nkadienye in a race for the gubernatorial post.
Tunataka tumhakikishie Lenku na wale wengine wanamfanyia propaganda kwamba sisi tutaenda mpaka kwa debe na hii kiti tutachukua mapema. Na jambo lingine ni kwamba mimi niko kwa ODM. Na nataka kuambia wale watu wa ODM tusimame sawa sawa. Mimi nina kura zangu nitapelekea baba. Kama Lengu atapewa tikiti ya Jubilee akuje pia na zile kura atalete apelekee baba.
Wale wanalia kwamba kuna mmoja amependelewa ni kwamba ile survey imefanywa imeonyesha hawana kura. Gavana Lenku kusemekana ndiye anaongoza kwa kura ya maoni ndiye atapata tikiti ya Azimio, sio upendeleo, ni ukweli wa maneno.
And in Mandera, Abdi Ali has been endorsed by elders from the Gare community to defend his seat as the member of County Assembly for Neboi Ward.
Kwa vijana naeleza nyinyi mjue MCA yenu ile Abdi Kuli ile tu ndio tena tumekubaliana kurudisha.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
Away from politics, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee has successfully unbundled a number of functions in preparation for their transfer from the national to county governments. Those to be transferred include library, museums, and disaster management. Speaking on Wednesday, the committee's chairman, John Mburugo, said they have transferred joint loans board schemes to counties and developed clear guidelines on job descriptions for the betting, casinos, and other forms of gambling staff at the two levels of government. Murugo further added that the functions yet to be unbundled are tourism, energy, regional development authorities, mining, and county public service boards.
resolve them as they are referred to court or they are filed by either level of government or organs the same. All those functions that have been involved, we have also identified, verified, and validated the assets involving those 14 functions. And the report is ready, again submitted to IBEC. I await, and with approval already obtained, and awaiting the next summit so that we can table the same.
And Archbishop Anthony Muheria is calling on Kenyans to use this Lent season to pray for peace during and after the electioneering period. Muheria spoke at the Archdiocese of Nyeri during the Ash Wednesday celebrations, which marks the beginning of the Lent season, where he beseeched for peace and avoidance of divisive politics. The man of cloth further called, on the political class to avoid using religious platforms to propagate their selfish interests.
As the rest of the Catholic Christian faith globally marked the Ash Wednesday, back home calls for peace are being made, especially now that the country is heading towards the general elections. Catholic Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Nyeri, Anthony Muheria, is terming the beginning of the Lent season as a time for self-reflection and upholding human morality.
And we know that our country has been going through very difficult moments. Our ways have been very bad. Our ways have been the ways of corruption. Our ways have been the ways of insults in politics. Our ways have been the ways of lack of respect to one another. A way of throwing mud and destroying one another. We must change our ways.
Muheria is urging the political class to avoid using the religious avenues to articulate utterances that are aimed at their own selfish gains. He said that such utterances polarize the country, something that could lead to violence.
In this political fray that we are now witnessing, we are asking all our leaders, first, that they may not misuse the name of God. They may not misuse the scripture and the Bible in trying to further their own personal gains.
Ash Wednesday marks the beginning of the penitential Lenten season, and it is commonly celebrated with the application of ashes on the forehead by the Catholic priest and fasting for 40 days.
Let's now do business. A section of rice millers in Migori County have closed shop due to shortage of rice in the area. National Irrigation Authority Nyanza Regional Coordinator says the standoff between farmers and the authority over compensation has seen rice production in Nyatike drastically reduced, threatening the multi-million shilling scheme that was earmarked to increase rice production.
The government had earmarked the 100 million shillings Nyatike irrigation scheme to increase the region's rice production by 50% before 2030. According to the initial plan, the Lower Kuja irrigation scheme was to target small-scale farmers to produce rice both for the domestic and export markets. However, the scheme has been facing turbulence as farmers are seeking compensation before paving way for the expansion of the project.
It is up to them to decide whether they want irrigation development, or if they want compensation, then we will not be able to proceed in that line.
Millers who had set base in Nyatike hoping to tap into the rice boom are operating below capacity due to raw material shortage, with some opting to close shop altogether.
The store here right now can sustain me for 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, I may end up closing the mill and sending my staff at home. That's my worry as a miller, and as an investor, then we have the market, but now we don't have the product.
A number of millers have been forced to source for rice from Ahero, further increasing their cost of production.
We should go back to the farms and do more than what we did the other time, because the other time what we did, we've just scaled down. It was not what we were expecting. So this time I'll encourage our farmers to go to the farms, we do more than what we did the other time.
The Lower Kuja project was part of the government's plan to put over 500,000 hectares of land under irrigation by 2030 in a bid to reduce the country's food import bill. Benson Njue reporting for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, lack of coordination of stakeholders and experts in startups and innovation sector is derailing the growth of the sector. Despite the immense development in the sector in the past years, the lack of coordination and sufficient policy strategies saw Kenya improve one position in the global innovation ranking, jumping from position 86 in the year 2020 to position 85 in the year 2021.
According to the World Intellectual Property Index, Kenya was ranked 95th in the 2021 Global Competitive Index with a score of 27.5. However, the country polled better in innovation by scoring 85th through the Global Innovation Index. Stakeholders now say the scores can be enhanced, with players pointing to better coordination and policy strategies.
All right, because unless you define the destination with modest clarity, then you don't muscle the energy together. Otherwise, some people do other things that may not necessarily support your agenda. So one of the things we have committed ourselves this year is to develop the 10-year Kenya's Innovation Master Plan.
At the launch of the Kenya Innovation Week 2021 report and the announcement of the concept note for Kenya's 10-year Innovation Master Plan, innovators also called for a common portal and innovation index to document total number of startups and innovations in the country as the nation seeks to tidy up its innovation registry.
As you can see, we also have a lot of overlapping sort of strategic focus with Kenya, and that's why we are encouraging linkages and not working in silos, as we've talked about earlier, to be able to strengthen the Kenyan innovation system. One, by using a digital platform that will map the key stakeholders, that is the SMEs, the startups and ESOs and investors.
This comes at a time when Kenya ranks highly with unique innovations amid challenges such as poor linkages, skills mismatch, technological conflicts, among other teething problems.
COVID has told us that in most cases in a pandemic at this scale, you sort of have to depend on yourself. And so how do you kind of nurture that spirit of innovation so that you're able to understand these are the problems we have, but also these problems create opportunities. And we saw what Kenyans were able to do in the last year.
Players say catalysts to growth start with events such as the Kenya Innovation Week that brings together small and large enterprises, local innovators, startup investors, and venture capitalists, among others. Alanako, Lunchtime News.
Now, the lifting of a ban on donkey slaughter in Kenya is a massive blow for smallholder farmers. Agriculture stakeholders are calling on the government to renew the ban, saying that donkey meat trade is threatening Kenya's population of donkeys.
Most farmers in Kenya who heavily rely on the donkey are now constrained due to increased theft and selling of the animals to the donkey abattoirs. Kendat CEO Eston Muriithi said legalization of donkey slaughter has posed a threat to one of the most significant and profitable domestic animals in the country, owing to its contribution to people's livelihoods in rural and peri-urban areas.
Ingawa imeralishwa kwamba nyama ya punda inaweza liwa, si kwa kiwango ambao hiyo ndio wanachinja. Tungependa kusema punda wana manufaa kwa watu ambao wanaishi na punda, ambao wanategemea punda, kushinda ambao wanachinjwa na nyama kuuzwa.
Area Assistant County Commissioner Purity Mengich called on motorists to be alert and respect donkey cart users, as the area economy was heavily dependent on donkey for transportation of rice harvest to the mills.
I would really like to urge all the residents tuweze kuheshimu punda na tuchunge punda, because it also has a life to live na inatusaidia in our everyday life.
Local farmers also urge the community to have a positive change in knowledge, attitudes, behavior and practices affecting welfare of working donkeys.
Punda iwache kuchinjwa kwa sababu sisi tutaumia. Tuna wanaume wetu ni punda, wale wanaenda kututafutia pesa. Sasa serikali sikia malalamiko yetu kama wakulima wa punda.
Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Across the continent, Tunisia has granted licenses to 3 international companies to produce 500 megawatts of electricity from renewable sources. The projects are worth over $410 million and will create over 2,000 jobs. Here are the details of these and other news making headlines from across the continent.
Producing 500 megawatts of clean electricity will enable Tunisia reduce its gas imports by 6% this year. Tunisia, which is suffering a dire financial crisis and political unrest, seeks to attract foreign investments in the energy sector. Tunisia will request offers to produce 1,500 megawatts of electric power from renewable energy this year. The country aims at producing 30% of electricity through renewable by 2030. Elsewhere, the governments of Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea have signed a memorandum of understanding that could see gas from Nigeria fed to a processing complex on Bioko Island. The Punta Europa site in Equatorial Guinea hosts a methanol and LNG complex that is currently fed by gas from the Alba and Alen Aseng fields operated by Marathon Oil and Chevron, respectively. If ratified, the deal could help monetize currently untapped resources while replacing declining output from Equatorial Guinea fields. Finally, Sudan is once again launching towards economic collapse in the aftermath of a coup in October, with exports plummeting more than 85% in January, according to central bank data, and the currency sliding on the black market. Cut off from billions in foreign assistance, a military-led government is raising prices and taxes on everything from healthcare to cooking gas, but the increases have angered struggling citizens. Sudan's long-running economic crisis, a legacy of decades of war, isolation and sanctions, had shown signs of abating before the coup, but now poses a fresh humanitarian risk as its population faces renewed violence and rising levels of hunger. The October 25th coup ended a power-sharing agreement between the military and civilians struck after the overthrow of former leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019 uprising.
Further afield, British oil giant BP is to offload its 19.75 stake in Russian state-owned oil firm Rosneft after Russia's act of aggression in Ukraine. BP, which has held the shareholding in the Russian company since the year 2013, had come under pressure from the UK government to make the move since last week's invasion. Details of this and more in stories making headlines from across the world.
BP Chief Executive Bernard Leone has resigned with immediate effect from the Rosneft board, as has fellow BP-nominated director Bob Dudley. Rosneft said 30 years of successful cooperation had been ruined and blamed BP's decision on unprecedented political pressure. BP company's big decision of pulling out from a mature market that has been cultivated for more than 20 years means the investors no longer take Russia as a trustworthy business entity. The decision will cost BP up to $25 billion, but this also means an acceptable outcome for both parties without causing fatal damages to Rosneft or further losses to the British company. The company has 25% of their share at Rosneft. These withdrawals have made International Energy Agency Council and its 31 member states, US included, to release 60 million barrels of oil from the emergency reserve to send a unified and strong message to global oil markets that the crude oil supply will remain stable. Meanwhile, top Japanese automakers including Toyota have halted their production in Russia as Western sanctions on the country continues. It has also said that its exportation of vehicles will stop due to deepening conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Toyota is Russia's top Japanese brand, producing about 80,000 vehicles at its St. Petersburg plant, which employs 2,000 staff, also added that the move will continue until the war is over. Finally, U.S. stocks climbed up as Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 1.8% to 33,891. The Standard & Poor's 500 sector was up 80.28 points to 4,387 as the Nasdaq Composite Index increased from 1.6% to 13,752. All the 11 primary Standard & Poor's 500 sectors ended in green, with financials and materials up by 2.55% and 2.44% respectively, leading the gains. U.S. has also listed Chinese companies 50 index ending the day on a downbeat note. Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Time to play, and we begin with golf, and for that we now cross over to the Muthaiga Golf Club, where our reporter Daniel Wahome is on standby to give us the latest in the Magical Kenya Golf Open Tournament. Wahome, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed with what is happening at Muthaiga Golf Club. Wahome?
Thank you very much, Bentro Njue, back at Broadcasting House. We are live at the Muthaiga Golf Club, where we've got the Magical Kenya Open. It is the fourth time that Kenya is hosting a European Tour event. This time round, it's known as the DP World Tour. Remember, in 2019, we had the Magical Kenya Open for the first time as a European Tour event. Last year, we had two events, and they were the Magical Kenya Open and the Kenya Savannah Classic. Back to Muthaiga, where the last time we were here was about 4 years ago. But what has been the growth of this event? We're going to hear from the tournament director of the Magical Kenya Open, Patrick Obath. And Patrick, first of all, let's talk about the 144 entries. The earlier expectation was 156. The change in numbers.
There's normally a very delicate balance that is done in terms of changing numbers. The main reason this year round is around the number of hours of daylight that we have. We have to create time for the players to be able to practice in the morning and see where the ball is going. That means that they start teeing off at about 6:30 in the morning, and that's the practice. And then they have to wait, and then you have to close, so that in the evening there's about 45 minutes or so for interviews with players. So that means that at the end of the day, you only have so many hours, and that is why you have 144 players.
Well, looking at the morning draw, we've seen already that 7 under par, and the kind of competition that's expected. Given the course conditions at Muthaiga, what kind of outcome would you expect by the time you make cut tomorrow?
What generally happens is the first day you see a score, and if the score continues for 2 days, you normally find that by the fourth day, the full scoring is about another one equivalent to the first 2 days. So we probably expect to have the scores to be about 18 under to 20 under by the end of the tournament. The cut will probably be somewhere around about 10-12.
All right. The other factor that we've got to look at right now is the way the courses have had to be changed. Muthaiga had to do a lot of work on their course to meet European Tour standards. What has been the response from the tour?
We have had very good relationship with the courses where we take the European Tour event to. So when you talk about Muthaiga have been maintaining their course to the standard that we expect. So they had to do just a small amount of work to get it to where we require. And so the players are happy. The agronomist from the European Tour, he was here last year and he came here again early this year.
First of all, let us apologize for sports fans for for actually interjecting on Wahome and his interview, but we have to cross over to Nyamira, where Azimio la Umoja Kenya coalition is currently holding or stepping up the campaigns in Nyamira County. Let's hear Raila Odinga, the ODM patron.
Wapate kazi wa maana, sio kazi ya kusukuma wilbaro. Unataka wilbaro nini? Unataka wilbaro? Umekataa wilbaro na kwa mkono. Tatu, tumesema hawa vijana ambao wanataka kuanzisha biashara yao wenyewe watapata mkopo kutoka kwa hazina ya serikali na walipi chochote mpaka baada ya miaka 7. Mnaunga hiyo mkono? Mnaunga hiyo mkono ili waweze kuinua hali yao ya kimaisha. Sawa? Ingine tumesema ya kwamba kwa upande ya matibabu tuna shida mingi zaidi. Watu hawezi zingine kununua dawa hata kupata matibabu, sio? Suluhu inaitwa baba care. Baba Care. Baba Care. Kila Mkenya, kuanzia mtoto, watu wazima, kina mama na wazee watakuwa chini ya bima ya matibabu. Ili kama hawana pesa, watapata matibabu hata kama hawana pesa. Sawa sawa? Naunga mkono? Naunga mkono? Sasa, haya. Upande mwingine tumesema wale wa mama ambaye hawana mabwana, single parent mothers, mwingine mjane, mwingine bwana yake alimfukuza, mwingine alitanganywa na kijana mwingine, hata sasa yeye ni baba na yeye ni mama, sio? Hawa ni special category wa Kenya, tupata msaada kutoka kwa serikali yetu. Sawa sawa? Na wale jamii ambao hawana chochote, wanachota, wanafukara, wengine kwa sababu ya baa la njaa, wengine kwa sababu ya ukosefu ya kazi, hao jamii watapata kutoka kwa serikali kila mwezi shilingi 6,000. Unaunga mkono? Unaunga mkono? Hiyo itafanyika, inaitwa Social Protection Program. Takataka wanasema ni baba anadanganya watu, hakuna pesa. Raila Amolo Odinga ameshakuwa waziri mkuu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kwa miaka 5, sio? Najua pale pesa iko. Sawa? Tutafanya. Naunga mkono. Sasa mimi nataka kueleza nyinyi. Baba anataka nyinyi mwe wanajeshi wa baba. Mko tayari? Mko tayari? Mko tayari kwa wanajeshi wa baba? Kwa wanajeshi wa baba mpaka uwe na bunduki na risasi. Bunduki ni kitambulisho, risasi ni kura. Sawa? Mko nazo? Mko nazo? Tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 alfajiri, baba kama mjeshi mkuu atapiga parapanda, atasema forward march, about time, fire, fire, get fire, fire, get fire, get fire, get fire, get fire.
As you can see from your screens, that has been the Azimio La Kenya Brigade, led by ODM leader Raila Odinga, stepping up their campaigns and charm offensive in Nyamira, and being able to point out 2 or 3 things that Baba has talked about. He's talked about the young jobless Kenyans will receive loans that they will have to repay, soft loans in 7 years. And of course, he has talked about stepping up the Baba Care to ensure that all Kenyans will receive medical care even if they do not have any money, and also 6,000 shillings stipend that has quite elicited some reactions in the political spheres. He's talked about it is possible. He says he has been the Prime Minister of the Republic and he knows where the money is. Of course, for the speeches, the sights, the sounds, we will be having more of that in our subsequent bulletin. Wycliffe Okech is keeping his eyes peeled for that. And on that note, we have come to the end of KBC Lunchtime News. My name is Njue. Lucy Mwaura has been our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed afternoon.